Hello and welcome. You're tuned to the Leg Up, your domestic thoroughbred weekly preview podcast. And morning to Stephen Hunt. We're down a man here, Steve.
We
Lost
are,
a man
yes.
barely standing.
Another round of golf, apparently. Work related, is it? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either, but I think it was a red card. I've given him a week's stand down for Big Mike. That's what I'm thinking after last Saturday on the heavy track. We knew it was going to be heavy.
Yep.
Big Mike at Rotorua, $4.60, made it his bet of the day. He's got a week stand down for Mike.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Puts the pressure on myself and Pops.
Exactly, you're going to have to lift. What happened last Saturday? We obviously...
Rotorua Cup.
That's him, yeah.
Yeah, Rotorua Cup.
Good fight.
Good fight, yeah. Back in the winning circle. I think maybe the mid part of 2019 was when he last won a race. Look, he's been a fantastic horse in the terms of what company's been running in. He was placed in the Auckland Cup, or City of Auckland Cup, Wellington Cup, and a Martin Cup from memory in the last, 18 to 24 months. So he hasn't been too far off the mark in terms of our premier staying events. But look, he might have found his sweet spot in that slow/heavy track conditions. He hasn't had too many starts in that spot.
Yeah.
He relished the conditions on Saturday, being a heavy 10.
Too, didn't he? Yeah.
And he's bolted in. He got 7 rating points coming out of the Rotorua Cup, so he hits around about 91, 92 rating points from memory. So it's a delicate one because to relish these track conditions, you've got to sit somewhere on the minimum to the middle range of the weights in these Cup races. So he's probably got one more opportunity taking out a Cups race in the winter, and then they'll probably penalise him enough where he'll be carrying too much kegs in terms of a winning chance. But look, it was a deserving win for the good fight and well respected, and a lot of the punters kept the faith with him.
He's improved that strike rate, which was probably always his query around him, but as you say, he's been running in the top company and he generally runs well, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he found a nice little zone in 53 kegs, so not winning for so long got him down into the rating zone where he was able to carry him the minimum weight on a rain affected going, and we know that combo is dangerous at the best of times.
Yeah, absolutely. And Popstar Princess, she got the 14.
She did. She just got the 14. Jonathan Riddell, what a pearl of a ride. Hugged the rail. I will say, though, for Jonathan Riddell, he got a little bit of a lead in the previous around Tegan Newman, who rode Because. All the horses prior to that were coming down the middle to the outside lane at Rotorua. But Tegan hugged the rail in the previous, leading up to the Fillies and Mere Stakes race. And Jonathan just would have kept a close eye on what happened there, and because being a dominant winner over a staying trip, he thought, well, maybe the IG's not that bad along the inside part of the rail and the paint. So, look, regardless, it was a what would you say?
Deserving?
Yeah, a deserving win, but there was a few risks taking that zone for Jonathan. But to get that 1400, it was probably a calculated and well rewarded.
Yeah, okay. Let's say good morning to BP. Morning, Brendan. Off the back of Cambridge, the first synthetic meeting, have you managed to recover? What a day.
What a day, yeah. An enormous day for the club and for New Zealand racing, because it is a new era of racing, and I think everybody, once we really gather the data that you need over the next few meetings, people will embrace it. Horses running on a track condition that you can have some faith in and can really punt with a bit of confidence. And that's the hard part, and that's a hard thing to do in the wintertime. And I think you will be able to have some of that confidence leading into the months of June, July and August, when it is difficult to have a real serious bet with the unknown. This way, every 2 weeks, you can really line up some form lines. Horses were coming home in good time, and you're going to keep horses in work that maybe wouldn't be in work, and that made into sort of 74 grade, where the horses, where they can't come back till the spring, they can just keep ticking over and go every couple of weeks or every month back to Cambridge. So I think it's a great thing, and I'm sure we'll see a spike in turnover once punters get that true confidence about having a bet there.
Yeah, have you given Aidan Rodley the day off, Pops? Because I reckon he could be a bit flat after yesterday. Jeepers creepers, what a performance from the man.
It was. And let's be honest, we needed that from a coverage point of view and from a broadcasting point of view, that we had someone there to really embellish the occasion and also provide the information around the surface, even for those that were watching, the layman watching. And I know that there was a few, because there was a lot of people interested in just how did this all happen? What is the track even made of? You know, all those little simple things. And I've heard that from a number of different angles from people, congratulating our coverage and what Aidan was able to provide. So, it was bang on. It was day off. Go and have a day off.
Yeah, but yeah. It wasn't anyone he didn't interview, Steve.
Whatever he was on, I want some.
Yeah,
Aidan Rodley.
It's
Not available. Yeah.
Look, I thought it had to be a pass mark overall. Betting was very, very solid, Thaddeus, in the office.
No, agree.
And there was no real downward spiral in terms of what we saw, in terms of the final field win and top 3 markets, etc. Overall, I thought the track played fairly fair. There was a couple of swoopers at the start of the day, but I think that was tempo related. All the jockeys had got the same memo and wanted to push forward and try and find that leading position. It did really set up for the mid to back markers early in the card. Then it kind of found its mark and the races were just run at a nice true tempo. In terms of the marketplace, there was a few horses that were well punted and ran up to betting expectation. Fun Tonic, Physical Fun, Silverdale Chief, and also Clever Ruds. The Clever Ruds was well played in the early doors on Tuesday evening and Wednesday morning. But naturally with these maideners, you see them drift late. But there was still initial money for the debutant to run a race.
Well, Alexa's won. They nearly got a hold of us.
Thank God for
too.
970 metre races and not the traditional 1,000, because we would have been found out there around Lexi's 1 or Lex 1 for the OP team. They're very dangerous at the time, at the best of times, aren't they? And look, to be fair, we probably should have respected that second trial just in behind the leaders under a stranglehold. And like I say, though, it looks a very promising type. One horse that might go through the winter grades.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of maideners, BP, let's get your maidener of the week, mate. What have you found us? Could it be on the synthetic?
I have gone there. I thought, let's go with some synthetic form and really try and get some form going out of this meeting. And I thought this was one of the wins of the day. It's Fun Tonic. Now, this was a horse that was, first of all, backed very strongly, brought very good trial form on this track, a locally trained horse for Chris Wood, and then backed it up with a very strong run, first time of asking out of Tauranga and getting back and running through the line and producing the right figures. This horse was last out of the barriers, and Taiki has been able to work the path through and get out and around very strong through the line. So backed up what we were all able to see through trials and through a race day form line. Very good win there by Fun Tonic. So happy to mark that down as our maiden of the week. And I think there's a few others you can follow out of that race meeting. Sort of haven't done a full review yet of the races, but I'm sure we'll be marking down a few.
A Chris Wood winner never often bodes well for us, Steve, it'd be fair to say.
Quite often a red mark in our risk manager when it comes to a Chris Wood trained galloper. And Fun Tonic might be one of these horses that's going to go through the grades, as BP's already alluded on. It's lightly raced, only had a couple of race starts, had trialled on the synthetic track, and one of the locals that did the job on Wednesday. So no, definitely one to follow.
Yep, for sure. Okay, team, let's get through Waikato. Obviously, Waikato Steeples and Hurdles Day, so a big day. We want to start in race number 2, Steve. That's the hurdle, isn't it? I'm going to get the name right. Fairview Motors Waikato Hurdle. And tell us about the track as well, and tell us about this market.
The track currently is a slow 8. That's Thursday morning. Little rain to speak of between now and race day. So hopefully we get around that dead 6 range. I know it's not in terms of high temperatures. It's not that warm conditions to get the tracks back rapidly. But hopefully around that dead 6, if worse, a slow 7. But heading back to the market here, led by Back to Master, who won the prelude a couple of weeks back at $2.30, in front of Tommy Ra at 4.5. Lockenburn third favourite 4.8. The Cossack $7. Good to see Adam Kudu back in the country. Alibaba $7.50. Our Lucador best of the rest at 18. No clear lead Back to Master for Jamie Richards at 2.35.
Yeah, small fields, the hurdles and steeples, BP, as they can be at this time of year. But boy, there's some quality about this, isn't there?
There is, and I like the shape of actually both these races, both prestigious jumping races, because we've got the opportunity of giving them a little bit more time since we saw these horses back at Te Rapa, which was 2 weeks ago, and a little bit of rain has fallen, which is what they've needed. These horses that have a long season in front of them, if they want to be, competing here in the first feature jumps race right through to the Great Northern, well, that's a long run to be able to make. So we need to also help them, and nature's done that with the track condition at the moment as a slow 8. So, it's a track condition that will suit many. It's really hard to go past Back the Master with what he did last start. He is, first of all, he's a very genuine flat horse. He's a horse that's got very good flat form. He's won, 3 on the flat. And he actually went super on the flat first up to say that he was ready for a very strong jumping preparation when he did run into second spot. I thought he did that with a fair bit of ease last time to the races when he was able to beat Tamara. He does go up a couple of kilos on that victory over that runner who is, Tamara and the Cossack and those sort of horses, they have the experience of running in these type of races. The Cossack, a great Northern winner. Tamara, a winner of this race. Actually, at the start of the season, we have the opportunity of a very unique double on both of these feature races. Now, due to lockdown, the Waikato Hurdles and Steeplechase was held at the beginning of August. So that is a part of the racing season of 2020-2021. So that does mean that both Tamara and It's a Wonder have the chance to win the Waikato Hurdles and Steeplechase twice in the one season. So Tamara's got a great opportunity of doing that with how he ran second last time to the races. He looks spot on. So I'm finding it hard to get away from that same Quinella from a couple of weeks ago anyway.
Yeah, I see Mr. Kuru has snuck back into the country here on the Cossack. It'll take some money just on the rider alone, you'd think.
Gee, you reckon, eh? I mean, like he's a class rider and he's made the right move at the right time in his career to have a shot in Australia, but also now with the travel bubble opening back up, his timing is impeccable, isn't it? Because he's gone to Australia, he's established himself there, he's riding in the feature jumps races there, and then he's gaining that opportunity of coming back and picking and choosing when he can come back for the feature ride. So I'm sure this is something we'll see from Aaron a fair bit throughout the season. I thought Lockerburn was a really good winner in that restricted open hurdle last Thursday and comes out of the Kevin Myers barn and Sean Fannin doing the riding. That definitely presents as a big danger away from those top two.
Yeah, 100%. I guess it's a question of whether there's improvement in the likes of Tamara to turn the tables on Back the Masters. Pop's talked about a couple of kg swing, but it was quite dominant, wasn't it, Steve?
It was, but in terms of the betting picture around Tamoira, it was very, very soft when it presented 2 weeks ago. From memory, opened 2.8, closed mid-4 range. So betting was suggesting that it needed the run. The trainer came out prior to the race and said that it needed the run heading towards the Waikato Hurdles. So you've got to take that on when you're punting Tommy Ra or Tamoira this time in. Can it overturn Back to Master? I've got doubts. I think Back to Master is a real genuine type. It has as BP's already mentioned, has that flat ability. It just looks to be one of these progressive stayers, new on the scene in terms of the hurdles. Back to Master. Ali Barbage was an interesting runner. Second last year in this race behind Tommy Ra, and did beat the Cossack in a maiden hurdle in July at Te Rapa as well. And we talk about track conditions. Some of these horses will be wanting the deeper winter conditions later in the season, but you go to the Cossack, we talk about the rescheduling post-COVID with our feature jumps races earlier this season. Look, it won a Great Northern at Ellerslie. Normally you associate the Heavy 10, Heavy 11, but it was run in October, remember, and that was on a dead track at Ellerslie. So the improving track conditions around Te Rapa on Saturday shouldn't hindrance the Cossack, knowing that it has won a Great Northern on a dead surface at HQ.
Do you factor Aaron Kuru into a price when you're framing a market?
Yeah, absolutely. He's in the top 1 or 2 in Australasia in terms of the jumping game, and it's a big trip to come back to New Zealand. Yes, the bubble's open and whatnot, but he's come here. How long he stays here until he goes back over to Australia, but the reasoning to come here in the near forecast is this race. It has to be said. So you've got to take note. The Cossack, he'll probably need maybe 1 or 2 races until he's primed, but class will get him quite far in this event.
How did you rate Lockaburn's one? Because coming from a different form line, obviously. Yeah,
I think they would have really wanted the west side of slow, with a few showers to open up. That's not going to happen around Lockerburn, but look, he's still a genuine chance. And that combo of Sean Fannin and Kevin Myers, I mean, Kevin's been in fantastic form in terms of, look, he has big numbers going to the races, but his strike rate's kept very, very solid in the last 3 to 4 weeks as soon as we've hit that winter period. So punters really gravitating towards that stable at third fave 4.8. But I think the majority of the turnover will be on Back to Master. Tamora potentially running for us here in the tab, purely just its overall profile and what we've seen the last 12 to 18 months, and I think they will be specking for the 5 and the 2 and the 5.
Yeah, okay, BP. Good stat, by the way. I didn't make enough of that around the unique double. That's the sort of stuff we like on the leg up, but give us a top 4 in the hurdle, please.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the same Quinella from 2 weeks ago. It's the form that we were able to see there at this venue, and I'm staying with that same exactly, you could say, around Back to Master into Tamira. So 3 to beat 1, and then it's how you place 2, 5 and 6, that being the Cossack, Lockerburn and Ali Barber. I'm going to put the Cossack just in front of Lockwoodburn. With the better draw, the jockey, all those factors we've brought into it, and also a nice run on the flat when last presented out of the races, to say that he's in the right sort of form, and look, he's out of the right barn. I mean, they're terrific trainers of the Nelson McDougall of jumpers, and they get them ready and they're ready to go. So I think he's an awfully big player in the race, and maybe at that $7 he could be one of those runners that could get a bit of nibbling for into the race. So 3 to beat 1. And then 5 over the 2 with Respect on the 6 alley bar, because the horse was placed last year in the race. So, yeah, good competitive field, and can't wait for it. Looking forward to the jump season. I think with these sort of horses we've got so far, a few more to come into the mix once the tracks get a bit heavier. Our jumping season should be a good one.
Yeah, 100%. I won't ask you for a top 4, Steve. You like back the master to win, though?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I like gravitating towards the Prelude, which was run 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, he goes up 2 kegs, but Tomorrow also goes up 1 keg. I don't think that's the difference in terms of turning the tables. You've got the new horses on the scene, but I'm pretty keen to stick with Back to Master. I think it will be Jamie Richards' first Premier Jumps win in terms of a trainer.
Makes sense to
Probably
me.
the only box he hasn't ticked.
Yeah, exactly. He's ticking them pretty quick. We haven't even mentioned these roughies. Do we need to spend much time on the Delegates and Banks Roads of the world, with all due respect?
Look, both of them were very, very soft in trading 2 weeks ago. I just feel they need a heavy track condition to level the playing field against some of these key rivals, but their turn might come later in the season.
Yeah, okay. Back to Master, awfully hard to beat in the Waikato Hurdles. Let's move to the Waikato Steeples, the signature home Waikato Steeplechase. Boys and Steve, run us through this market. Looks even.
Even, but there's a slight lead. It's round number 2, the favourite. It's a Wonder, back over the higher jumps at 3.2. In front of Mesmerise at 3.4. Zentangle 3.7. Shamal 8.50. El Disparo 9.5. Max 16 with Mr. Enthusiastic also at that rank price. But look, there's a slight lead. It's a Wonder at 3.2.
Yeah, he was good last time, BP. Probably just peaked on the run there at Wanganui. It's a Wonder. And gee, Mesmerise comes out and is an 11-year-old and wins first up. I wasn't really expecting that either. Well, how do we tackle this one?
Yeah, that's right. And look, Mesmerise and Max out of the stable of Raymond Connors. Mesmerise is a horse who actually looked very good in the jumping caper at the back end of last season, especially over Ellerslie. And you almost looked with how that horse won at Ellerslie that it's a case of maybe going Great Northern and then going backwards from there for the Great Northern Steeplechase, because we know how he likes to win the race, and it could be a very important race to be winning the Great Northern Steeplechase of this year, with what's possibly going to happen with the Ellerslie track and the Ellerslie Hill. So I do like It's a Wonder. I'm happy to be with him because I just believe his progression from his run over the hurdles, getting to the bigger fences, a top jockey aboard and Sean Phelan, who is, he's picking his mounts this year, and this is one of the horses that he's very keen to stick with because he's a busy man. He's got himself he's got a lot of horses and work as a trainer with his father. So it's a case that he needs to pick and choose, and he can't afford to get injured. He can't afford to fall off. So hence why he's really picking and choosing his mounts. And this is one of the horses that he has a very good association with, knows how to win feature jumps races with. So I keep coming back to him with that good run under his belt from last Thursday. And then you have to come to horses like Mesmerise and Zentangle with their recent form. Mesmerise doing the job last week, and Zentangle, what Zentangle has on his side is he's actually had 2 jumps races this season. With his win here, beating only 3 other horses, but then he backed up and raced on that Thursday race meeting out of Wanganui and was able to finish into 2nd position. So he should have some good miles on the clock leading into this.
Yeah, 100%. Look, there's a sort of a clear top 3 here, Steve, the way you framed it.
Yeah, there is. It's a Wonder back over the higher sticks is crucial in terms of how we assess the market around It's a Wonder. I think that's a positive. He can operate on the better footing at Te Rapa. Just want to go back to BP. A quick question. Sean Fannin. Look, Sean Fannin rode Zentangle last start when a beaten favourite. I think he was well into the red $1.50 from memory by Mesmerise. He's off Zentangle. He's jumped on Mesmerise. What do you make out of that, BP?
Yeah, I guess that maybe you have to take it a step further, that Buddy Lammis was on Mesmerise. Buddy has such an association with Shamal, so he's always going to ride Shamal. That leaves an opening to take Mesmerise, and then he's gone, look, Mesmerise, Zentangle. Yeah, look, maybe there is enough in that to say that that was the way he wanted to go with the opening of Buddy taking the ride on Shamal. So it's probably enough, isn't it? Because he is a class jumps jockey, is Sean Fannin, and if he had the choice over either or, Zentangle's trained by Kevin Myers. As we know, he predominantly rides for Kevin. But we also know that Sean Fannin is a well sought after jockey, so if jumps trainers can have the opportunity of trying to grab him, they will, and that's what Raymond Connors has done. He's made the most of maybe seeing an opportunity to grab Sean, so yep, there's probably a bit of weight in that.
Is he thinking Great Northern already, Sean Fannin, then, in his mind?
Oh, look, I hate guessing what Kevin Myers is up to at the best of times. Maybe it's a pure opportunity where he's wanted to give Dean Parker a ride, an opportunity on Zentangle in a feature jumps race, and the ride was available on Mesmerise for Sean Fannin to jump aboard. So I'm not too sure. I thought BP might have a clear-cut reasoning, but again, it's pretty hard to work out Kevin at the best of times.
Yeah, we wouldn't be second-guessing the great dummy Myers. What about Shamal, Steve? Nice resuming run, I thought, even though it's 3 or 4.
Yeah, it was. Look, there was a little bit of interest in terms of the marketplace. Double figures on opening, shaved into around about $6 on the SP. He was still beaten 19 or 20 odd lengths, which is a decent margin to improve in 2 weeks' time between runs, Shamal. So, look, I'm probably willing to take a slight set against him, wait for him to get down to Christchurch or potentially Ellerslie around Shamal. I just think there's a few horses here that have that initial turn of foot to put themselves in the race more than Shamal, because he's going to give a lot of these horses a decent margin in the middle section of the race, and he'll have to be charging home and at the same time jumping well. So I'm probably at the weight and just the whole picture around Shamal, just willing to take a slight set, even though I will stress he was a bit of a market mover first up.
Yeah, okay. And Eldesparrow, quick word on Eldesparrow. It wasn't a bad resuming run either. Oh, sorry, it was second, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Look, again, I think he was probably wanting heavy track conditions. He's just one to watch in the deep part of winter. All his best figures over the sticks have been on that heavy 10/11.
Yeah. Okay, BP, a final summation and a top 4 around the steeplechase. You've gone It's a Wonder?
I have, yeah. And just before I quickly do that, the track conditions too for this race, like it is, there's a part of the race where they do run through the middle, and it was, that is always a lot better going right through the middle of, especially through the double, at Te Rapa. So just you have to take that into consideration. Slow 8 at the moment, but the very likelihood that they'll be running through a better surface on the outside part of the track and certainly through the middle at Te Rapa. Eldesparrow is right, Seven's right. Just needs a wet track. Just really does need that heavy 10 and 11 to show his best. He tried to keep touch, and as close as he got was 22 lengths to Zentangle when finishing into second spot. But he'll keep as he pushes through the winter. It's a wonder for me on top. A class trainer in terms of getting a horse ready for a jumping race. In Harvey Wilson and jockey aboard in Sean Phelan. In front of Mesmerise and Zentangle. I've sort of gone with the way the market is seeing it at the moment between those two horses. And fourth selection, Shamal, I mean, it's a horse who operates well here. We know the winner of this race back in 2019 ran third, a mile off them though in a Great Northern on a better surface. You couldn't really write off the chances of any other horse in behind to say they can run a top race to fill the minors. But I was happy around sort of It's a Wonder, Mesmerise, Zentangle. You
talked about how you're looking forward to the jump season. I was just thinking about Harvey Wilson and what a great trainer he is. Then I was thinking, well, hang on, we've got Kevin Myers, we've got Nelson McDougall, we've got Connors, we've got Harvey Wilson, who's an absolute gun and a master preparer of a jumping horse. We're pretty lucky, aren't we?
Look, we are, and they're super trainers to get jumpers ready, and it's a long game. These horses need to take a lot of preparation to get ready for this time of the year. This is their time to shine from the latter part of May right through to September, and the work that goes into these horses is enormous. It starts very much in the summer period, and it's long, slow work to get them to this point. Clockworthy's do a great job with their jumpers too. They have a lot of jumpers to Sean and Emma Clockworthy, and then the Brosnans. Look, there's a lot of good jumps trainers out there that put in the hard yakka, and it's a part of winter racing that I really want to see continue. I know that there is a few doubting Thomases out there to suggest that this is maybe an art of the game that is falling away, and maybe looking at some of the numbers, yes it is, and and how PC the world is at the moment. But I think it's such an important part of our racing fabric in New Zealand, jumps racing. So I really would like to hope that it can continue, and there's a lot of supporters out there for it to continue as well.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. It's a wonder, Steve, or who would you have on top in the steeple?
Yeah, I'm pretty keen on It's a Wonder.
Yeah.
Just not sure where the price is going to end up. It may start below $3 just from what we're seeing around the early door betting around It's a Wonder, but I think they're going to gravitate towards the top three. Outside that, you might see a drift purely on a couple of factors, the weight of money on the 1, 2, 3 fave, but just trying to get that overall percentage in the market down, come close to race start time. And not just the trainers, but gee, we've got some good jockeys, jockeys around.
100%.
Alan Kudu, as we mentioned, back in the country. Sean Phelan, Sean Fannin. And then there's even this whisper of Clayton Chipperfield or Craig Thornton coming back to ride the odd race. So you put them in the mix, and what a season we've got ahead of us.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've heard that whisper. Didn't you heard that whisper, BP?
Yeah, no. I saw Clayton Chipperfield be leagued aboard one at the jumping trials. Craig Thornton, of course. Well, Craig Thornton is riding on the flat. He's had 2 race day rides in the high weights. Has Craig Thornton, and he is incredibly fit with the work that he has done with Te Akau anyway. So there has been no issue for him to even contemplate it, because it was just a case that he was just carrying on what he was doing anyway. Except he's looking at doing it race day. So. I think it's super that we've got those 2 jockeys possibly coming back into the mix. Craig Thornton, again, I'm sure he's looking at just picking and choosing his right time. I know that he'd be very keen to get to Ellerslie, and maybe Queen's birthday is a couple of weeks away in terms of feature jumps racing out of Ellerslie. So possibly, fingers crossed, we might see Craig Thornton there.
Talk about fit as a fiddle. That man, yeah, unbelievable. Right, let's move along, boys. Race number 8 on the card. Dunstan Feeds 1400, Stephen. Nice even betting field here, I'm calling it.
Yeah, it is headed by a Te Akau runner in Summer Monsoon. It was very impressive on this course 2 weeks back. $4.20 and well played at 4.2 in front of Crafty Jess. She just loves to joint at 5.50. Stephen James first up, 6.5. She's that third line run to perfection. 4 fave or a 5th fave with the equal faves around the third line is Raposa Repeat at $7. Intrigue double figures 12. New York Jazz 15. Battle Time 16 resumes. Rocket Fuel 16 out to 17. She has the same or similar betting profile does Equinox, 16 out to 17. Best of the rest is Breeze On at 19. So not too many fluctuations in terms of the opening lines and where they stand now, but Summer Monsoon best back in terms of dollars invested at 4.2.
Yeah, both the top 2 here, BP, were impressive last start on the course. But if you can find the winner here, you should get a nice price.
Should do. You should be rewarded, shouldn't you, in this open handicap over 1,400 metres. Crafty Jess, look, it was a messy race with what happened with the fall, of course, of Moroney in the event, which was the stablemate and cutting up rough. And Crafty Jess is a horse that does operate well at this venue. Was able to just get up over the top of Ranger and really show a good fighting quality that she does have. And I think that puts her right in the race. A couple of kilos off with Tegan Newman, once again doing the riding. So she looks to be in a good space at the moment, Crafty Jess, and will enjoy being back on her favourite racetrack. Summer Monsoon, Joe Cameroon, look, he is a jockey that is doing the business, isn't he? He's riding winners. I love the slow progression that he's had, Joe Cameroon, and now I'm sure he is going to reap the benefits this season in terms of the next few months with his weight relief at 3 kilos at the moment. I think you've got to like Smiling Joe's ride here in Summer Monsoon. I was keen to have something on Intrigue at the bigger price in this race, number 13. Really like how she worked home through the line into 4th position. She got a wee way out of her ground and behind Summer Monsoon over the 1,400 metres, but she was really good with what she was doing in the concluding stages to finish into 4th spot. She just might be the one at a bit of a price that you could chip away at the $13.
Yeah.
What's with Intrigue, BP? Are you concerned she's drawn barrier 13, which she drew last start over 1,400? She's get back to probably in the last 2 or 3 in running from that draw 1,400. Are you a little bit concerned that it's not 16 the step up here, or they're remaining at the 14, considering where she's going to map from the draw?
For sure, she's going to get a long way out of her ground, and it's a case of just having to be snagged back and hope that she can run over the top of them in terms of of track pattern. How's it going to play out? Well, we don't know. It's race number 8, and we're talking on Thursday. But she is going to have to concede a number of lengths to those horses that will be in front of her. So hence why I've got her as my 3rd pick in the race, because she might be conceding too many lengths to be the winner of the race. But if she was able to just get the right run through them, maybe she can cut a corner and come underneath horses. She really does have that turn of foot at the end of the race to say she's good enough and classy enough to pick them up. So the risk is what we've just spoken about, but the reward is you can get $12 or play maybe a top 3 or a top 4 market. I think she's a great bet for a top 4, weekend multi. Intrigue might find my way onto that ticket anyway with what she can do in the concluding 200.
Absolutely, I like it. A couple of interesting first up runners here, Steve. I want you to touch on Stephen James and then obviously Battle Time, both going first up into this.
Yeah, firstly, Battle Time, $16. I think he'll be running for us here in the tab Battle Time. He's not getting any younger Battle Time, and hard to know where he's at. He hasn't had a trial leading in, so there's no form around that. I presume he's had the odd jump out, etc. around Battle Time, but no money as yet at 16s. And with Stephen James, he's an intriguing runner, really is. I thought he was quite eye-catching in his recent trial. What was it, on the 27th of April at Taupo? Look, he finished 5th in that trial, but under a little bit of a hold there on that occasion, and he could have finished a lot closer if the jockey wanted to around Stephen James. He presents first up. He won first up last campaign on this track at Te Rapa on a slow track. I think from memory a slow 7 when he won first up in the months of July. I think it was just post-COVID. So there's similar profiles you can work on what he did resuming last year, or last season, or last year, should I say, and now heading into what he's presenting on Saturday. So at 6.5, look, we've kept him fairly safe purely on just the overall profile of the race. There doesn't look to be a clear lead in terms of the betting, as we've got a $4.25. But from barrier 12, it just makes it a little bit tricky for Lindsay. But look, she grabbed a double yesterday. She's riding very, very well. But look, in terms of the profile first up, I think he's definitely one to keep an eye on just in the marketplace alone.
Okay, 6.5. First jockey to ride a double at Cambridge, Lindsay Satherley. There you go. Pops. What about Run to Perfection in the race? Do we call it disappointing second up, or fraction, lucky, willing to go again? Because I do like the horse.
Yeah, look, I was trying to find some excuses, and there is one there when sort of just checking off them once it's turned for home. So it's enough to say go again. But I don't know. I'm still lukewarm on what I did see in that race. Yeah, look, if you were on and you want to have a bet again, well, look, I don't think we can put you off, because he is on his class as a 3-year-old, and what he's been able to do, as we mentioned last time about this horse, his Catalyst form. He was chasing Catalyst and he wasn't that far off him. If he can find that form, third up, he has a chance. I'm sort of leaning towards more Stephen James as my 4th pick. I nearly went Run to Perfection, but I've gone Stephen James just because of what Stephen spoke about. I mean, he won first up and then he won second up last preparation, did Stephen James, and his trial was good. It was a really good trial from him. So, yeah, he operates well there. So I'm going to go with Stephen James just in front of Run to Perfection. But if you were on last time out and you thought he was unlucky enough, I don't know. Maybe you'll get more than 6.5 around him. He could be a runner that could just ease in the market.
Steve?
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. He was quite soft last start at Te Rapa. I think the positive around Run to Perfection, he's just been run off his feet at the crucial end of the race, the last 300-400 metres. He's just, when they've asked to sprint, he's just been a little bit flat-footed. So I think the extra furlong, the 1400, will suit Run to Perfection. But again, he's drawn a sticky gate in barrier 10. But in terms of the marketplace, just going back to what BP's questioned, I do feel there is a bit of wiggle room and potential that you might get a higher price than the current trading at 6.5, purely in what we've seen, in particular, second up at Te Rapa 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, okay. And intrigues you, Ruffy BP. Nothing else down there. The New York Jazzes of the world, the Rocket Fuels, Breeze-Ons, etc. They didn't squeak into your numbers?
They didn't. I am always a sucker for New York Jazz, so he'll be on my quaddy ticket. I don't like leaving out a Stephen Ralph runner, to be honest, in a quaddy, because sometimes they can blow it to smithereens, can't they? So often they're the runners that are paying 20s and you were on it maybe 2-3 starts ago, and then you hopped off, and then they've come out and won. So look, I'll be keeping New York Jazz safe on a wide ticket, but haven't made it into my numbers. No, I actually went Crafty Jess just in front of Summer Monsoon. So second favourite to beat favourite Summer Monsoon. Intrigue as the roughie, yes, at that $12 mark, and maybe the one that you can look to play through the top 4 markets with the bookies, maybe that way with the multi, as I said. So 3, 9, 13 and 8 I've gone.
Yeah, okay, he's with Crafty Jess, the course specialist. Stephen, if I had to nail you down to one bet in the race, what would you say?
I'd go Stephen James. And again, I think there's potential he might
get a little
play.
more.
Yeah, just purely on his profile being first up. Just doesn't have that recency bias where a few of these horses do, in the likes of Summer Monsoon, Crafty Jess, etc. Raposa Repeat, interesting runner. They've put the blinkers on him. I think that's just to get him out of the gates a little bit cleaner, but then they've been given barrier 14. So there's just a few negatives in terms of the map and having to carry the 59.5. He's got a slight claim, but it just doesn't map well around Raposa Repeater. So I'll go with Stephen James, just take the risk. He's got the ability, and I'll just take the honesty around John Morrell getting his horses first up.
Yeah, and as he can do. BP with Crafty Jess, Stephen with Stephen James. Guys, let's nip down to Awapuni now. I want to have look at a couple of races there. Race number 3 on the card, the John Turkington Forest Fox Pine Logging Limited, 1,200 metres for the open handicapper, Steve.
In a clear lead around the favourite, number 2, London Express, opened 2.8 yesterday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, around London Express for Alan Sharrock and Hazel Schofer. Been backed into 230. It's a number of $300, $400, $500 bets. Yeah. And out of Alan Sharrock's barn, that has got to be respected, as we've seen in the trading at $2.30 off a peak of 2.8. In front of Mr. Universe at 5. Shares that same line with Mason Roxanne at 5. What a Smash at 6. Beefeater 8.5. Casa Quinman 12 out to 14. Tavi Court 14 out to 16. Miss Lizzie 23 out to 26. And Floral Art 26 out to 31. So the middle to end market, all of them have drifted on the warm support around number 2, London Express.
Gee, they're putting the money on early BP around London Express. You sit up and take notice, don't you?
Certainly. You sit up and take notice of the $2.80 too. That was posted on London Express. Wowee. Boy, this is a horse who was super first up when rattling home into 4th position. Was really good through the line. Is a horse that operates in the second up nature. We saw winning out of Matamata's second up over 1,200 metres on a wheat track. Even the preparation before that was able to win second up over 1,200 metres. So she's going to get track conditions that will be more suitable for her. They're going to be in that slow to heavy bracket. At the moment as we speak on Thursday, it is a slow 8. I guess the one little thing is that she doesn't have the course stats here at Awapuni, and that might be your one saving grace there, bookmakers, that you can hold on to, because you're hanging on to something here to try and get this horse beaten. That might be the one thing that could help you, is that she's had 4 starts here for just the one placing, but Hazel's on, gets a kilo off. I do like it.
Pops has beaten me to the punch there. That was my one thread I was trying to grab there around London Express. But off the resuming run, Stephen, going to be tough to beat. Yeah,
very eye-catching. 1,200, maybe a slight concern, but again, smallish field, she's not going to get too far off them. Slow track condition. I don't think it's going to hit that heavy zone, but I think she's adaptable on the better side of slow, so there's no knock there on London Express. She'll have to probably come over the top of a couple of key rivals, one of them being What a Smasher and Mason Roxanne, Mason Roxanne looked the winner on the quick backup a week or so ago at Matamata, and just got run over late by La La Land on the inside of her. But personally, I priced her at 38%, so around that $2.60 mark. What's she now, $2.30? I believe that's probably her bottom price personally. But again, the marketplace is telling us slightly different in terms of the 2.8, which might have been a little bit of an edge, and BP tends to agree with that, and it's backed into 2.30. So just interesting to see where that final price ends up around London Express. But the problem was there was a little bit of a discrepancy within the team around her and her main rivals, but we ended up 280, and we've been well backed into shape there.
Yeah, okay. And not a lot of money for the rivals, let's be fair, early in trading, but Mason Roxanne, Mr. Universe, What a Smasher, even Beefeater quite quiet, so that could have not going to be overly helpful, I would suggest, for us.
Yeah, no jockey on Beefeater, so not sure whether it takes its place. Got 62 kicks, so they'll be desperately looking for a claimer around Beefeater. Yeah, what a smasher. Look, it's not a horse that tends to get well played, so again, I think it will be running for us. What a smasher. Mason Roxanne, who was well played late at Mudda last start, so hopefully we'll get a little bit of a trend around number 7, if not during the working week on race day, Mason Roxanne. But Mr. Universe, well, he can put in a slasher, but he can grab you time after time without winning, Mr. Universe. And
Heartbreak horse.
he probably was one horse looking for it, hopefully, to come back to that worst side of dead. So if it's on the middle range of slow, well, it's definitely an advantage with number 2 in London Express v Mr. Universe.
Yeah, I was going to say, Pops, Mr. Universe, if he puts it all together on the day, he might be one that could save us. But you just those a little bit far between those days, perhaps.
Yeah, he has been such a frustrating horse, hasn't he? Because when he wins, he wins with a bit of purpose, doesn't he? And he's a horse that really savages the line when he has won, Mr. Universe. And I remember a day when he did win at Awapuni, for instance, he was like that. Now Bailey Rogerson is down to ride the horse. Now she is a 4 kilo claimer, but she will not be able to get down to 50.5 kilograms, from what I do understand. I think she can get down to about 52, Bailey, on this runner. Drawn an inside gate, and look, he is not a horse who can ping, but his big help here is, with the barrier draw, is that if he can use it somehow and then take that position behind a horse like Mason Roxanne, who looks to be a natural leader, and then you've got a horse like Tavi Court drawn out, who will be looking to try and slide and get over also. There's just a chance that he's going to be in a decent spot to be given his chance. That likelihood of pressure is going to help London Express, because she is going to get back. She's a horse that will be a tricky watch early. It's not just a case that she doesn't just jump to the front and control the race. She's not that sort of $2.30 favourite. She's a horse where she's going to get back. She's going to build into the race, and she's going to look to really bomb them in the last 200, 300 metres of the race. That's her pattern, and they'll be hoping there's that right sort of pressure for her in front of her.
Yeah, 100%. There's some nice winter gallopers here, Steve. Miss Lizzie, Tavi Court, both first up into this. We haven't seen any, well, not a lot of money for either, but they'll be winning some races, won't they? Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's a concern, the one you mentioned on their winter track specialist. So, again, with the improving slow track conditions around Awapuni, they're first up. So, again, fitness levels, where are they at? But also, they definitely want those heavy track conditions, which we're not going to get on Saturday. They need to kick off somewhere, so they'll present first up on Saturday, but definitely from what we're seeing, punters don't want to borrow them, and they'll tend to drift, if not prior to race day, but definitely on race day if we see the better side of slow.
We might be in a bit of strife here, BP. Give us a top 4 and race number 3 at Awapuni.
Look, I'll go London Express to finish strongly over the top of Mason Roxanne. Pretty keen to maybe take a little cheeky exacta there on those two runners, actually, with one horse in front and then finding one that dive bombs. So that's the way I'll be looking to try and play the race. Mr. Universe, I will put on my numbers if I can utilise the barrier draw with some weight relief. And then after that, if Beefeater's not starting, and look, there's no jockey down at the moment, he has got 62 kilograms, probably... I like Tavi Court. I've always liked Tavi Court as a horse. Maybe with that little question mark about the horse being first up into this. Doesn't quite have the first up record, but as a horse I'll be watching through the winter. So probably maybe What a Smasher. But yeah, 2-7 exacta and having something on the 2 to win.
Oh, that's 2-7 exacta.
So BP, back to your 230 off an opening line of 280. Where do you see the SP around London Express? And obviously you're very happy at 2.8. You made that clear, but now 230, is it hit its bottom in terms of your assessment, or is there still potential that it might shorten? And for everybody that's potentially listening to this podcast on Thursday, Arvo, Friday morning?
About 220, I was thinking, Stephen, maybe. I'd say that'd be about bottom for wanting to be serious about backing London Express. So I don't know the schedule yet for the Punters Lounge, but let's just say there's, we get Alan Sharrock on and he comes out too and starts suggesting that this is going to be a horse to have a bet on. Well, as we all know, that moves markets too. So the horse could really move through Saturday morning or through whatever reason if there's more spooks around the horse. So she could get shorter than the 220, 210 mark, but I was thinking around that 220 price.
Yeah, and couple that up with the lack of money or anything else. I mean, I hope we don't see odds on, but the potential's there, isn't it?
It is potential.
Yeah.
You might get a deduction around Beefeater that might close the SP shorter than what
really?
we're all talking about. Well,
Unless we
it's
drift
currently
it to
at 12%,
$10,
but if
unless we
it's
drift it to $10 for your pops.
currently a 12% chance, so yes, deductions will apply. But yeah, look, I assessed at $2.60. That might have been a little bit generous, but that was my 100% market, but $2.30, and it's not turning off the tap totally at 2.3.
Yeah, okay. Going to be an interesting race. Very, very good bet on the card by the looks. London Express. One more race we want to touch on before we duck off, team, and that's the main race of the day at Awapuni, and a very, very good betting field. The James Bull Holdings Rangatiki Gold Cup over the mile for the open handicappers. Steve, this is a bit of a betting race, isn't it?
Yeah, fantastic betting race. Headed by More Wonder 4.2. In front of Hartley 6.5 with that second line with House of Cartier. Quiz Kid $8. Double figures around Shadows Cast, the class galloper in the race. William Wallace 11 with Montvuto, and also Vent. No jockey around Vent for Craig Lumpton's team. Rosewood on the quick back up at 12 with Quelia Star. Quelia Star just needs to get a couple of scratchings to come off the bench, as does Belplaceur at 14. Labea, Naval Fleet, again, both emergencies in the race. Next horse in the final field at present is number 12, Happy Star at 15, and Des at 26. So no clear lead. Nice betting race. 4 or 5 they're willing to play. More Wonder 4.25.
Geez, a few things to sink your teeth into or work through anyway, Pops, with first up runners and horses in form coming from all different angles. I'm going to need your help.
Gee, this is a race and a half, isn't it? And there is a chance to I'm looking to play this where I have a couple of bets in the race. And as you said, Thad, is to race where there's some horses that are all returning. Look, there's horses like Des, who returns, which I'll touch on in a minute, and Happy Star, who's had, a couple of trials and a jump out. So they're forward enough for today, for Saturday's race, to say they are a chance. They need that real heavy ground as a horse like Happy Star. And then you match it up with Quiz Kid, who ran a very good second in the Anzac Mile race. You've got a few other horses that have been up and running to say they've got the miles on the clock, as opposed to these real genuine weak trackers. So I keep coming back to Quiz Kid. I really did like this horse's run last time out to the races. He's a tough horse. He's a runner who rolled to the front at this venue a couple of starts ago, and he was able to run them off their feet in a 74, and he was tested in a stronger grade. And look, he made Mai Tai work on that occasion for the victory. It was just under a length, and he did beat home a horse by the name of P Arena, who has then come out and blown them off the track in the Travis Stakes. So there's a bit to work with there with Quiz Kid. Now, he's not going to get the weight relief in the race, but he is a horse that will put himself there and he'll give a sight. So I think he's a bit of a bet at $8. Then it's down to track conditions, isn't it? About what happens with rain over the next couple of days. How wet is this track going to get? I'll throw one out here at an enormous price, and it's Des, number 2. Look, he is coming up in a very good fashion to say that he is ready for a winter, and he is a horse that will be, maybe he'll need this run to be absolutely close to the mark, but he is a runner that has had a very good trial, and he's had a couple of jump outs. Now, he's had 2 jump outs at Hawke's Bay through April and May, so he's had 3 good solid runs under his belt to say that he can run a sneaky race. I want to have something on him small at the 26s and keep him close in quaddies and trifectas.
Do we get that jump out mail, Steve? Because I see $26 is our worst result in the race at the moment. So the Hawke's Bay locals might have found one here.
Absolutely. It's one of those races, right, that no surprise that they're playing the middle to end market, and that naturally with that lay price brings a liability on those runners. So I think on race day they will gravitate towards the top 4 or 5 in the race, but at this stage we're seeing a little bit of speaking for Des, and that might be just the mail through the jump outs at the Bay.
Yeah, okay. Plenty of chances though. I mean, Hartley's been good form, More Wonder, tremendous form. I mean, tricky race, isn't it?
It is. I think More Wonder's helped by Shadows Cast being in the field. It's been carrying 60 kegs at Te Rapa and has been very good in doing that. I just feel it's hitting a consistent patch, More Wonder, which we haven't seen throughout its first 3 or 4 seasons, More Wonder, and that's no fault of the horse. It's just been up and down in trip and stakes company, Group 1 level, etc. So it's just been a more consistent preparation this time in with More Wonder in terms of the mapping of the racing, but also we're seeing that in the results. So $4.20 a deserving fave, getting down to 57.5 with a senior jockey aboard. Look, Rosewood's an interesting runner on the quick back up. little Bonnie Mare, isn't she? She's down in weight. She had to carry a big weight last Saturday at New Plymouth. I think it was 60 kegs when she ran second at Diogenes. She drops to 54 kegs here, Rosewood. Drawn barrier 17 in a big field. Look, she was up against 7 horses on Saturday. She's up against a minimum of 14 horses on this coming Saturday, which she's going to probably be 7, 8, 9 plus lengths off the leading pack coming around the turn, Rosewood. So that is a negative because she's drawn barrier 17, but she does get down to that dangerous 54 kegs. I've got no doubt she's come out this time in very good fashion. It's just willing to take a little bit of a set against her as I was last Saturday, even though she ran second purely on the track conditions and the map in a big field. But look, House of Cartier, I think she's finding her right race back to handicap conditions. She struck a weight for age, Avantage, etc. Last start prior to that, the Breeders and the Wairapa, where she didn't really disgrace herself. She was 3-4 wide at different parts in that race over 1600. So I think back to 53 kegs of House of Cartier, and I think you could say arguably that she should have won first up at Trentham when she was last seen at handicap conditions behind Marlowe Bick. Marlowe Bick, the ride that day was sensational, but and it was the winning of the race. But
don't remind me that day. I don't know if I've got much money left for House of Cartier since it's been back from
Well, she is a bit like that. She maps again the second half of the field. But look, House of Cartier, she's going to be in the back half from barrier 16, but she definitely has the quality. And I think 16 is a nice little sweet spot for her.
Yeah, okay. Well, we could go horse by horse here, Pops, and you could make a case for every one of them, but settle on a top 4, or please, for us. Bring it all together.
Yeah, okay then. I'll have 2 bets in the race. I will back Quiz Kid, number 10, and number 2, Des. So 10 to beat 2. Then after that, more wonder is hitting that consistent form line that we've been looking for, and you just have to have him, don't you? So he's in the mix, and Hartley knows how to race well at this venue, and he produced a good win last time on a better surface, but he's a consistent horse who can go on any type of track condition. But you guys have mentioned it, just how many other horses you can have in the mix. And we'll get more of a guide on race day, just with how wet the track is, or how puggy it is, or if there's any rain on the day and it might loosen it up, and all those sort of factors that come into betting throughout the winter. But I'll bet the 10, Quiz Kid, and the 2 Des.
Yeah, not bad. Quiz Kid $8. We'll be seeing a lot more of these horses over the next few months, Steve. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. I feel a lot of these winter horses have come out very, very well in terms of early preparations. Happy Star, I've loved what I've seen at the trials around Happy Star, but again, is he striking the key track conditions around a heavy track? So all what BP's mentioned, it's very key in terms of the values of what we see in track conditions on race day.
Righto, boys, I'm getting it in the air here from the producers. We've got to start winding the show up. The hour's gone quick. I don't know whether it's because Paul's away or not, but Steve, let's start with you for a best bet. A miss last week, I believe.
A miss, yep. Dead set miss. Magdala was beaten at the turn, one of the first beaten.
That's right.
Tricky track conditions at New Plymouth, very holding, but no excuse there around the beaten favourite. Look, Naval Fleet, I'll go to the last at Awapuni over 1,400 metres. Just finds the right grade, rating 74. Very consistent mare, I think out of her 15 starts, she's been out of the money twice for Naval Fleet. Just brings rock solid ratings when it comes to 74 grade at Awapuni. I think the slight track improvements will help her. She hit that slow 9 at Awapuni last start when beaten by Belle Placer. So with the improving side on the better side of slow, I think it's an advantage. Last time she was seen at Awapuni, over 1,400 metres, she was a winner at this grade, and she beat a nice filly in Key. So I think just the overall profile around her, she deserves a winning turn. She'll be hard to beat Naval Fleet.
Okay, just squeaking into the negatives there with you. You can't keep a good man down, BP. Bit of the daytime.
All right. How good was Dunhill? I was very
How good was
happy to see.
Dunhill at about the 600 metre mark? I would love to see your face there.
No sweat, no sweat.
Going on its last start run, Stephen, it was rocketing home. We just needed to get out, and it was trucking, wasn't it? So, good win by Dunhill out of Ascot Park last week. So we'll go to Awapuni pretty much. I think I've shown my cards with a couple of races to go there. Race number 3 with London Express. So I'll mark that as my bet on the program. I thought she was looking very well placed off the back of what she did last time to the races. And she'll be smoking home late in the piece with the hope of that good pressure in the race, which certainly maps that way that there'll be that right sort of pressure for her to finish over the top and get a win column at Awapuni at start number 5.
Does he get the 2.8?
He gets the 2.8.
Oh, okay.
He gets
That's going to help his ROI.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, and in real life. Yeah, exactly. Pops, you've already discussed Saturday and you're looking forward to the jumps, obviously.
Yep, absolutely. And, good racing domestically. And, of course, the curtain comes down on our great race mare in Melody Bell too, which we need to mention. And let's just hope that we can see her best on Saturday. I know that they had a few little niggling issues leading into the Hollandale, where the week never went their way. If she is in some sort of form, look, she's going to pay a price. That's one thing you are going to get with Melody Bell on Saturdays. You are going to get a chance to have a bet on her at a really big price. If she can put it together, fingers crossed for the team. I know that they're all heading over there, that she can do the business. And just quickly, have something on Dragon Leap. He races on Saturday. He is in a very good
He's been
spot.
a mover, 18 to 12.
He's in a good spot to run a big race on Saturday.
Yeah, okay, here around those sorts of Melody Bell. Gee, they're going to go out with a bang if she wins at about $16.
How big's our liability going to be? $17.
Freaky. Thank you, Stephen, for your inputs as always.
Cheers, Daddy.
We've been spruiking this Horse of the Year chat for about a month, so it'll come before we sign
Still
off
got
for
2
the
months to
winter.
go.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for joining us as well, and we'll see you in 7 days' time on The Leg Up.